Good afternoon and welcome back, everyone. We're still continuing our discussion around suicide prevention this afternoon, and we are joined by Nikki Jarvis, who is a senior account manager with Rinck Advertising, and also Lisa Ardia, who is also with Rinck Advertising and is their web marketing manager. So welcome to the both of you, and thank you for being here. We will do Q&A at the end of this session, so we ask that you put questions using the Ask button that's located in the right-hand portion of your screen, and we will take those after we hear from Nikki and Lisa. So thank you both.
Great, thanks, Heather. So we are extremely excited to be presenting on behalf of MPHA and bringing this probably to the comfort of your home. But our campaign here, and hopefully this program that you're sitting in on, is using metaphors to encourage help seeking and reduce stigma around suicide. We developed a suicide prevention campaign in collaboration with the Maine CDC Injury Prevention program. And we at Rinck Advertising would love to take you through this. So before we get into any of the good stuff, we want to just take a moment to disclose and go through the protocols that we have no commercial relationships, as I'm sure some of you have seen. And as we walk through today's session, some things that we would like to highlight is really this campaign that we launched in February and it ran through June. We really want to outline the media tactical mixes and the results that we had seen while we were targeting individuals. What worked, what we saw from users and individuals that engaged with our campaign. Also, what keywords were individuals searching around suicide and behaviors around suicide. And because we launched the campaign in February, prior to really the COVID-19 outbreak, we were able to trend and see some of the impact that COVID-19 had on mental health and behaviors. So we'd like to share that with you. And then also our audience reach, kind of who we were reaching at the time, but also who we actually ended up reaching. So where did we start? We really kind of broke it down and looked at the landscape of Maine. I'm not going to read through this. I'll let you guys kind of take a look. But, suicide is the leading cause of violent death in Maine, killing almost 7 times as many people as homicide between the years of 2002 and 2010. However, what we really did take a look at is that 80% of Maine citizens who die by suicide are males, which is extremely alarming to us. So when we set out to do this campaign, we looked at what are our objectives here, knowing that we had males in mind, knowing that our suicide rate was at 80% among males who die by suicide. So what we wanted to do is raise awareness about the importance of help seeking via the Maine Crisis Line and 211. We knew that we needed to provide options for support, primarily texting, chat, and the call option, which we would incorporate into our ad units going forward, so that individuals that needed that support could get that support in that time of need. Additionally, we also wanted to reduce stigma around mental health. That was going to be done through our messages, so that we could break down the barriers for those looking for need. So we looked at our target audience and we focused on some key populations: adults 25 plus. And as you can see, and Lisa will get into this later, we looked at behavioral and interest triggers. So we were able to focus on those who perhaps were on Facebook and had a change in their relationship status. Did it make them sad? Why are they changing their relationship status? Did they recently suffer a job loss or an injury or a death in the family? Or have they been prone to gambling? Those are some behavioral triggers that we were able to target those individuals by. Additionally, we looked at job professions with higher suicide rates. The team at Maine CDC helped provide some of this data where we were able to target based on fishing, forestry, those in the farming those that are in the medical profession and construction and law enforcement. So we were able to kind of break those as subsegments of our target population. But our key focus was really on males who are ages 40 plus, as you had seen in that overview, without a college education, but also access to firearms. So based on our objectives, based on our target audience, we launched a campaign called Here to Help Maine. And as you can see, the URL is heretohelpmaine.com. We encourage anybody to go and check this out. This was based on an older survival guide that you may have seen from like the Army and things that individuals and males might have, like tips on how to do this, tips on how to do that. Well, this also, what we wanted to do is we wanted to name feelings. We wanted to have people understand that big feelings can be hard to understand, but we wanted to give each of those feelings a name and then give everybody a way to take action with those feelings. So it became a real guide around feelings. So we named all of our feelings, and I believe, is the poll showing up, Lisa? I can't see it, so. So we're gonna have a poll in a second, but we identified all kinds of feelings, whether you're overwhelmed, whether you're angry, whether you're feeling hopeless, whether you're feeling depressed. And what we did is we associated those feelings with metaphors that people could understand and overcome, and what they could do next as far as taking action, and really driving the individual who might need that support to the Maine Crisis Line, which we were hoping that they would be that support. They're here, they're ready to listen and be that free, confidential support in time of need. So this is just an example of a feeling that we named, so that everybody can see kind of how we broke down the barriers around the metaphors. In this particular one, obviously, it's feeling hopeless, and we're asking people to learn how to wrestle that crocodile when you have that feeling of hopelessness. And you can read through it, but sometimes it feels like too much, a sadness so big and thoughts so deep that it could swallow you whole. The enormous ache doesn't have to turn into suicidal thoughts. Know your warning signs. When you feel like you're caught in a grip of grief and that your emotions might pull you underwater, take action, ask for help. You're strong enough to ask for help. Fight these feelings and end up on top. Wrestle that crocodile. Know the warning signs, ask for help, make a plan, and let us listen. We ended all of our digital ads with know the warning signs, ask for help, let us listen. And that was really the call to action with the Maine Crisis Line, is let us listen, being that ear for support. But as you can see, we don't expect anybody to wrestle a crocodile, but they might feel that feeling of hopelessness that's kind of pulling them underwater. And how can they get a grip on that? And what can they do next? Here's just a lay of the land, showing you some of the other metaphors that we utilize in our digital tactics. We push this out on social, programmatic digital, YouTube, and some various other programs. So you can see feeling overwhelmed, feeling angry, feeling panicked, feeling anxious. We had depressed in there. And I believe you will get a poll to see what people were searching the most during this campaign. So I'm going to turn this over to Lisa, that will go through our tactical mix, which will show you how we were targeting individuals, but also how we were reaching them and driving them to get engagement and reach individuals.
Great. So to accomplish the objective of driving education while also getting individuals to connect with help, We utilized a tactical mix that combined awareness and mass media digital activations with platforms that offered immediate engagement to individuals. Programmatic YouTube, which also includes YouTube TV, and Reddit really drove a high volume of reach across our target audiences, while social was able to utilize some of those behavioral triggers that Nikki had mentioned previously, really capturing indications of some dramatic shifts in their daily lives and serving messages to those individuals. And then paid search was able to target users who are already actively looking for resources. Next slide. The campaign ran roughly 124 days, and we were able to capture over 4,000 calls to the Maine Crisis Line. These calls came in via click-to-call ad units, which allow individuals who are within a search engine who are served an ad to click right on the ad and have their mobile device dial a number. But we're also able to drive clicks on phone number links on the suicide prevention website itself. The next slide. Overall, the campaign was very effective at driving a high volume of awareness. We served over 11 million impressions, and we had over 994,000 video views. But the campaign also drove connections with individuals who indicated that they needed help. Not only through the calls I covered on the last slide, but we also offered to connect via text and chat. And by having these additional connection opportunities for individuals, the campaign was able to drive an additional 394 connects on top of the calls themselves. Next slide. While awareness platforms really had a reach and served a lot of impressions, targeting users who are already researching feeling-based terms or indicating that they are having a current need really drove the highest rate of calls, texts, and chats. Paid search was really the most effective platform at capturing that audience, while YouTube display and Reddit drove overall awareness, which ultimately could have resulted in a higher search volume that we were able to capture with paid search. Along the bottom of the slide, looks like our search ads aren't showing. There's just a couple examples of how we were able to execute this metaphor feeling-based survival guide messaging within the platforms themselves. So the next slide, I think we want to show the results. It looks like that hopeless was selected as the highest, followed by depressed and anxious, which definitely aligns with some of the results we're seeing here. Digging into what users were searching for, we see that, not surprisingly, keywords relevant to the helpline, crisis line, and the term suicidal thoughts really drove the highest volume of immediate clicks to call. These terms indicate that, these individuals were probably experiencing an immediate need and they needed to connect to the helpline right then. While feeling-based keywords that we see here, overwhelm, trap, stress, depression, really drove the highest overall volume of searches. Depression, stress, and anxiety were all among the top terms utilized, with depression being by far the highest volume of feeling-based searches. So it definitely aligns with the results you guys all picked. So COVID-19 was not originally part of the scope of our campaign activation. We launched on Valentine's Day, ironically, and COVID came along over the course of our campaign period. So you can skip in. And we actually saw some pretty immediate results. The shelter in place and news cycle shift in March really appeared to have ramped up the campaign. You can see everything to the right of the line. It was post shelter in place orders in Maine. We saw significant spikes really at the beginning of the pandemic, but while this leveled off later as we got into the end of April, daily volumes still continue to be higher, roughly about 30% higher post COVID than it was prior. So it really definitely had an impact on volume overall. The campaign reached users in every Maine county. Not surprisingly, highest volumes are concentrated among more popular areas. This is a pretty typical behavior we see for Maine focused campaigns. We did have a visit from over 155 cities in Maine, and Augusta had the highest volume overall. Yeah, next slide. And then this is highlighting some demographic data based on who we are ultimately able to reach. You know, we selected YouTube and Reddit because they have a higher volume of male audiences, and that was kind of one of the focuses we wanted to concentrate on. But social has a high penetration among females. So they were able to balance each other out, and we ultimately had a pretty even result between men and women, almost 50-50 pretty much. 25 to 34 was the highest volume of users we reached, but audiences 40 plus, which were another focus group for us, really represented the most engagement the campaign had. Overall, demographically, we were pretty much in alignment with the campaign target audience. Nothing stood out as too shocking, but we were really able to capture that focus group that we had, and Nikki covered at the beginning of the presentation. So that's pretty much it for results. I think we want to open it up for questions.
Thank you both. That was a great presentation, and it sounds like a really effective campaign. One of the questions we came up, one, it was a comment that they like the graphics that you used with the terms, but they also wonder if with COVID, the search term that was most used changed at all?
No, not really. We did see a slight uptick in loneliness, but it wasn't significantly above still those depression, stress, and anxiety terms that we saw as the most common.
The other question we have, and you touched on this a little bit, but could you talk a little more about how responses differed by age, particularly for those over 65?
Yep, we definitely saw over 65 connected more via telephone. We didn't see a high rate of usage of chat and texting among 65 plus. The age groups over 40 were way more likely to connect with the crisis line than under 40, while 25 to 34 were higher likelihood of looking for resources. It was kind of a flip-flop there.
Thank you. And can you talk a little bit more about the future of the campaign and where you'll go from here with it?
Sure. So as you guys can see, it was actually really successful. It was the first time that we have worked on a suicide prevention campaign and seen these kind of results. It wasn't what we expected. We had actually set some lower numbers, but I know that working with the Maine CDC, they are working to secure a grant so that moving forward, we can expand not just through the adult population, but through the youth population as well, and target teenagers so that we can expand the campaign a little bit further.
And in terms of expansion, and thank you, that's really great news. If people in the audience are interested in using any of the graphics or language or images, is that possible? Like what does that look like in terms of spread?
Sure. Heather, you guys have our contact information. I think it's included with all of the presentation. If anybody's interested in learning more about this, obviously we have all of the results and the campaign information. We also have posters and some graphics. I believe some some free resources may be on the Maine Prevention Store.com. So anybody could pull some off of there, but we are obviously welcome to take any questions and emails directly to us.
Thank you. That's great. And we have another question that just came on. One, terrific campaign. So another congratulatory message. But the question is, based on this, how might you stretch the campaign further to those men who are even less emotionally self-literate? This particular questioner would have expected more response from, quote, stressed men.
So yeah, I do think that is something that we are looking at and we're sort of analyzing going forward. One would be targeting the influencers going forward if they have that support structure in their life. Some people don't. So I think that's always been the hard part is, are people lonely in that time of need? Do they have anybody that we can possibly, share this out with? So what was encouraging is that we didn't just reach our target audience, we did reach obviously additional support structures. So I think going forward, we are going to look at, who are those individuals surrounded by? Is there anybody that we can target as support going forward?
Thank you. And we have another question that just popped up. How might this capture men who may be more ready to use physical aggression? I don't know if that's too specific, but.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure. Our goal really is, with this campaign was to get those, based on our targeting, based on those that might, we don't know if they're going to use physical aggression towards somebody else, towards themselves. Our thought process is it's towards themselves, and we would hope that we would intercept them based on some targeting. It can't be precise and it can't be exact, but that was our goal, is to kind of stop that, or let them know that, that wouldn't be the next step. So I'm not sure. I don't really have a good answer for that to share. Sorry.
No, that's okay. We appreciate all the answers to your questions. And I'll pause and give a few seconds to see if any more pop up. And while we wait, I just want to remind folks that we will be sending information later today about evaluating each of the sessions that we've ran so far. I know there have been some difficulties with that. So be patient, and thank you for your patience. But I'm not seeing any more questions. So I want to thank both Nikki and Lisa for being here this afternoon. We really appreciate it looks like a fabulous campaign. You guys did a wonderful job. The numbers that you shared are phenomenal. So great work, great presentation. We will be back tomorrow on Friday, beginning at 9 a.m. And we'll be talking about more around climate change and getting outdoors. So we have presentations tomorrow at 9 and 10 a.m. So we hope everybody will tune back in tomorrow. And other than that, thank you so much for participating and being here for the conference. And we'll see everybody on Friday. So thank you all. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.